Buckle up, everyone, because today we're going deep into the world of O3b.
Interesting.
It's a satellite constellation that's really shaking things up in the world of global internet access.
Yeah, what's really fascinating is that it all goes back to the name itself.
How so?
O3b stands for Other 3 Billion.
Uh-huh.
And that represented the population without reliable internet when the company was first founded, so it's all about bridging the digital divide.
That's a pretty big ambition.
It is.
I mean, thinking about that makes it even wilder that our research shows O3b is now powering VOOM Wi-Fi on Royal Caribbean cruise ships.
I know, right? It shows how versatile this tech really is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not every day that you see a tech that was made to bridge the digital divide, also powering luxury cruise ship Wi-Fi.
Right, and it's all about where they are. O3b operates in medium Earth orbit, or MEO, and that's like finding the sweet spot between the low latency of low Earth orbit and the wide coverage of those traditional geostationary satellites.
So they're in the Goldilocks zone.
Exactly. It lets them do a lot of things, from connecting remote islands to supporting communications for organizations like NOAA and the U.S. Department of Defense.
And, of course, cruise ships.
Yeah, and cruise ships. You need your streaming.
Always.
So the first O3b system went up between 2013 and 2019.
Okay.
With 20 satellites offering speeds up to 10 Gbps.
Yeah, that's still pretty impressive.
Oh, absolutely. But now they're going even further with O3b mPower.
That's the next generation system, right?
Yeah, it's a big step forward.
So what makes it so different?
Well, they're starting with 11 satellites built on Boeing's 702X platform. And they're aiming for speeds between 50 millibps to 10 Gbps.
Wow.
But what's really groundbreaking is each satellite can generate up to 5,000 beams.
5,000 beams per satellite.
Yeah.
That's pretty hard to even picture.
It is. It's thanks to electronically steered phased array antennas.
So what does that mean in plain English?
So instead of a fixed beam, imagine a satellite that can shape and direct its signal.
Like a spotlight.
It's focusing its power exactly where it's needed.
So they can really fine-tune things on the fly.
Right. It's all about dynamically allocating bandwidth based on what's happening in real time.
So it's like a super smart network in the sky.
Yeah, pretty much. And the best part is, the whole system is software defined, so they can reprogram it from the ground, just like you get software updates on your phone.
So they can keep upgrading it constantly.
Exactly. Keep it cutting edge and adapt to new needs.
Our research also mentioned some big partnerships, like Microsoft using it for Azure Cloud Services.
Right.
And collaborations with companies like Galat and ST Engineering iDirect to develop ground infrastructure.
Yeah, they're building a whole ecosystem.
That's really impressive.
It is, but as with any big, ambitious project like this, there have been some hurdles along the way.
Oh, there are always hurdles.
Always.
So what kind of challenges have they run into?
Well, recently they found some issues with the power modules on the first 4 O3b mPower satellites.
Okay, that doesn't sound good. What's the impact?
So the affected satellites will likely have a shorter lifespan and reduced capacity. It's kind of like a battery that doesn't hold its charge as long.
So it's still working, but not as well.
Right. It's not ideal.
I imagine this must have some financial consequences.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
SES had to lower its revenue expectations for 2024 by 5%.
Wow.
Because of the delays, and Boeing's reporting losses of $315 million to fix it.
So what's the plan now? How are they going to address this?
Well, Boeing's stepping up. They're redesigning the faulty components.
Yeah.
And they're even building 2 extra satellites to make up for the reduced capacity.
More satellites.
Yeah, and they're upgrading 5 others to boost performance.
That's a pretty big undertaking.
It is, but they're committed to making it work. And what's interesting is SES doesn't expect to spend more money on the constellation.
Really?
Because they have a risk-sharing agreement with Boeing.
Oh, so Boeing's absorbing the cost.
It seems that way. It shows they're both really invested in this project.
It's reassuring to see that level of commitment because this technology really does have the potential to change the game.
Right.
But I'm curious to hear more about what that actually means for the future of global connectivity.
Yeah.
Can O3b mPower actually live up to its name and connect those other 3 billion?
Well, that's a great question, and one we'll definitely dive into after a quick break.
Stay tuned, folks, because we're going to be exploring the potential of O3b mPower.
Right.
To revolutionize industries and bring high-speed internet to even the most remote corners of the world.
It's going to be fascinating.
It is.
So we were talking about the challenges facing O3b mPower before the break.
Right, some pretty serious setbacks.
Yeah, but even with those, I think the future for O3b mPower is really bright.
Okay, I'm ready to hear why. We've talked about how it's being used by everyone from cruise ship passengers to the Department of Defense. But I think the real potential is in bridging the digital divide.
Absolutely.
Can it really connect those other 3 billion, like the name suggests?
I think it can, and in many ways it already is. Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this really interesting example in the research you provided.
Oh, yeah.
About O3b being used to bring high-speed internet to remote regions in Kazakhstan.
Wow.
And they were able to show 3G and 4G connectivity with much lower latency than traditional geostationary satellites.
So it's really making a difference.
It is. It's opening up all sorts of possibilities for those communities.
I can only imagine what that kind of connectivity could do for education, healthcare, economic development in those areas.
Exactly. Think about remote villages in developing countries suddenly being able to access online educational resources.
Yeah.
Participate in telemedicine consultations, maybe even start online businesses.
Wow, that's amazing.
These are the kinds of opportunities that O3b mPower can create.
It really feels like we're entering a new era of connectivity.
Yeah.
Where geography is no longer a barrier.
It's incredible. And it's not just about individuals either. Remember, we talked about the U.S. Department of Defense using O3b.
That's right. Secure and reliable communication is crucial for so many sectors, and the applications of O3b mPower go way beyond just bridging the digital divide.
Like, what else can it do?
Well, it has the potential to revolutionize maritime and aviation,
Okay.
providing seamless connectivity for ships at sea and planes in flight. And it can be a huge help in disaster relief efforts.
How so?
By providing communication infrastructure in areas hit by natural disasters. And, of course, its use by the Department of Defense shows how it can support critical government functions and military operations.
So it's a very versatile technology.
Extremely.
But how does it fit into the bigger picture of satellite internet providers? I mean, there's a lot of competition out there with companies like SpaceX and Amazon launching their own mega constellations.
Right, you're right. That's a really important question. The satellite internet market is getting pretty crowded, so O3b mPower needs to stand out.
So how are they doing that?
Well, one of their biggest advantages is their focus on specific markets and applications, like maritime government and enterprise, where their MEO capabilities really shine.
So they're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. They're focusing on being the best at what they do. And that could be key to their success in the long run.
Makes sense.
They're also exploring some innovative approaches like multi-orbit integration.
What's that?
So potentially combining the strengths of MEO with other constellations like SpaceX's Starlink LEO network and even SES's own GEO satellites.
So creating like a hybrid network.
Yeah, a truly global network with incredible coverage and resilience.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But with all these different players and technologies, is there a downside?
Well, of course, with any new technology, especially one as complex as O3b mPower, there are always challenges and potential drawbacks.
Like what?
Well, data security is a big one.
Right.
When you're transmitting sensitive information via satellite, you need to make sure it's protected from cyber attacks and that the encryption is strong.
That's a good point. What about the environmental impact?
That's another big concern.
All those satellites up there.
Exactly. Space traffic management is becoming more and more critical. And we need international cooperation to develop responsible guidelines and regulations.
To make sure we don't create a space junk problem.
Right, to ensure the long-term sustainability of space operations.
So it's a balancing act.
It is harnessing the potential of space technology while mitigating the risks.
It's a lot to consider.
And beyond the technical and environmental aspects, there are ethical and societal implications too.
Like what?
Well, as we're working to connect everyone, we need to make sure that access is fair and affordable.
Right.
And that we're not just recreating existing inequalities in the digital world.
That's a really important point.
It is, technology can't solve these issues on its own. We need careful planning, collaboration with local communities, and a focus on digital literacy and inclusion.
So it's not just about launching satellites, it's about building a responsible ecosystem around them.
Exactly. You got it.
So O3b mPower has this incredible potential to bridge the digital divide and change so many industries.
It does.
But it also raises some really important questions about responsible innovation and the long-term sustainability of what we're doing in space.
You've summed it up perfectly. It's a story that's still unfolding, and its success depends not just on the technology, but also on how we address these broader societal and environmental challenges.
It's a fascinating story, and I'm really curious to see how it all plays out.
Me too. It's an exciting time for sure.
We've been talking about the potential of O3b mPower and all the exciting things it could do.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It is, but as we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for this tech.
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The satellite internet landscape is changing so fast, it's hard to predict anything for sure.
I bet.
But based on everything we've discussed and what I've seen in your research, I think O3b mPower is in a really good position.
Should be a major player.
Yeah, to shape the future of global connectivity.
You know, I'm really intrigued by that multi-orbit integration idea.
Oh, yeah.
Combining MEO with LEO and GEO constellations. What kind of impact could that have on how we use the internet?
I think it could be huge.
In what way?
Imagine a world where your internet connection just seamlessly switches between different satellite networks, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
So, like...
You could be on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean streaming a movie.
Right.
Then you get on a plane and keep working on some cloud-based project without missing a beat.
That sounds pretty futuristic.
It does, right? It's all thanks to this network of satellites in different orbits all working together.
That's incredible. But I have to imagine there are some big technical challenges to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. Making different satellite systems talk to each other is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
You need technical compatibility, but also agreements on data sharing, spectrum allocation, regulatory frameworks. It's complicated.
It sounds like it.
But I think the potential benefits are so big that the industry will figure it out.
It seems like we're on the brink of a whole new era of connectivity.
We are.
Where the internet isn't tied down to cables and towers anymore.
Right. It's really exciting.
What could that mean for the digital divide and access to information in those remote corners of the world?
I think it could be revolutionary. Imagine remote villages, disaster-stricken areas suddenly having high-speed internet access.
Yeah?
It could enable telemedicine, online education, economic opportunities that were never possible before.
That's a pretty amazing vision.
It is. It's about empowering people, transforming communities, and creating a more connected world.
But as we've discussed, it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about making sure access is equitable, affordable, and sustainable.
You hit the nail on the head. We need to be thoughtful about how we deploy this technology.
And make sure everyone benefits.
Exactly. It's about collaboration between governments, businesses, nonprofits, and a focus on digital literacy.
So it's a big responsibility.
It is O3b mPower has this incredible potential, but it's up to us to make sure it's used for good.
To make the world a better place.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I've learned so much about O3b mPower and the future of global connectivity.
It's been a pleasure sharing my thoughts.
The takeaway for me is that this technology has the power to change the world in some really profound ways.
I agree.
But it's up to all of us to ensure that change is positive and benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep looking up at the stars with a sense of wonder and possibility.
We live in amazing times.
We do. And until next time, happy diving.